Hello and welcome to the first lecture in world history. My name is Mr. Barron, and today's lecture is called The Stone Age to Civilization. And please always, when you are watching one of my lectures, have your unit essential questions with you as I go through the information in the lecture. Hopefully I'm providing you the essential answers to these questions in the order that you'll find them on your essential questions. So if you have those with you, jot down answers as I talk. So, Stone Age to civilization, the first thing I need to tell you is that human beings, Homo sapiens, people like you and me, came from Africa. We evolved from earlier kinds of hominids or ape-like creatures in Africa and spent um, the early years of humankind, so to speak, in Africa. Around 200,000 years ago or so, Homo sapiens start to move out of Africa um, and start to populate really the entire globe, going all over the place, all the way down to the far corner of South America, down here by where I'm speaking. But if we go over here to Africa, the continent right here, you can see 200,000 years ago, people are migrating. Migration is one of the fundamental geographic concepts that we'll be talking about this year. People always migrate. They migrated 200,000 years ago. They migrated yesterday. People are constantly on the move for different reasons that we'll talk about in future lectures. But just know that Homo sapiens and human-like creatures like Neanderthal man and so on, were moving about, moving out of Africa and into other places. And as they do that, human beings are affected by the environment, and human beings affect the environment as well. This human-environment interaction is a second fundamental theme of geography that we'll be addressing this year. And so a way that a human could affect their environment is, for example, as they move across the globe. Human beings got into Australia down here about 50,000 years ago. We believe there were some large animals like giant sloths and so on, or giant kangaroos, that humans drove to extinction, that they hunted to extinction. The same occurs in North America. Humans are affecting their environment by driving woolly mammoths, for example, or North American camels, driving them to extinction or hunting them to extinction. In a way that the environment could affect people, it's human-environment interaction, would be people evolving into looking different ways based on where they're living on the globe. This tends to happen. This is why people in Asia look different from people in Australia, who look different from people in North and South America, and look different from people in Africa and Europe. People are evolutionarily adapting to their environment with different skin colors and different facial features and so on, or even something as simple as you know the environment affecting people by people having to wear furs as they go to colder areas, or people having to learn to use different kinds of shelters as they are adjusting to or they are affected by their environment. We talk about the Stone Age because people were using stone tools back during the Stone Age. And it says on the slide that it starts about 2.5 million years ago. There were early humans or hominids or ape-like creatures that were using stone tools many, many, many years ago. But really we want to talk about Homo sapiens once again, and that really starts around 200,000 years ago. But what we find happening is people using stone tools, living in small bands, migrating, of course, not just from continent to continent, but also in much smaller, much more regional or local areas. They're migrating as hunter-gatherers. So they are following animals. That's one of the reasons why that they might be migrating as hunters. They are moving from place to place to gather new foods. They might be looking for roots or for berries or collecting wild grasses and so on in order to eat. At this point in time, technology would be things like stone tools for cutting open animals or killing animals. Another key technology from this period of time is fire, using fire to cook, using fire to keep warm, and using fire even for defense against large animals that feared fire. This is a way that that human beings were adapting to their environment as well. People at this point in time were making clothes and movable shelters out of animal skins for the most part. They needed to have movable shelters, of course, because they're always on the move. Human beings at this point in time are creating art as well. You might think of art as a more civilized kind of thing for people to do, but people were creating art even way back then as art on cave walls. You can see in the center here we have a bunch of hands that people went into a cave and created for some reason. Oftentimes art has animals, which of course is very important because people were hunting them. Over here you've got some different kinds of stone and shell tools that people were using for different sorts of things. So this Stone Age lasts from 2.5 million years ago, really about 200,000 years ago, to about 8,000 BCE. BCE is the year, or CE is the Common Era, and the Common Era starts with the year 0. BCE is before the Common Era. So 8,000 BCE is about 10,000 years ago. There is a change from the Stone Age, from Paleolithic era or Stone Age to the Neolithic era, the New Stone Age, around 10,000 years ago. This Neolithic revolution that happens 10,000 years ago really starts with the domestication or the taming of plants and animals. And you might ask, well, how do you tame an animal? I think you probably get how you tame a plant. I think you probably get how you tame an animal. You tame a plant by collecting its seeds and planting those seeds on purpose, tending those plants perhaps, and harvesting those plants. Same can be said for animals. You collect the animals, you capture the animals, you enclose the animals. And in both of these ways, you no longer have to go hunting for, gathering seeds or plants, and you no longer have to go hunting for animals that are on the move. You can keep your animals, you can tame your animals, you can plant different kinds of agricultural products, and then collect them to eat them. When people started to do this, it really didn't make any sense to be moving around and migrating all of the time. So people started to settle down in villages where they could keep an eye on the animals and they could keep an eye on the plants that they had planted. And the big thing that happens out of settling down and using agriculture, domesticating plants and animals, is that there is more than enough food for the people to eat. Previously, it made no sense for people to try to collect more food than they needed because they were moving around and they had to carry it with them. Now they're sedentary, they're living in one place. They can start to collect and store food, and not everybody really needs to be a farmer anymore, or somebody who is tending the animals that they had domesticated. So food surpluses are leading to basically non-farm type people or non-shepherding type people. People who aren't tending animals all of the time. And the kind of people that were not farmers initially are craftspeople, people who are creating products like clothes or things like pottery or tools full time. And traders would be people who are trading those kinds of goods. Religious figures, priests and so on, are dealing with spiritual matters. Leaders are leading the people and organizing cities. Scribes over here on the left are people who are keeping records. Warriors over here on the right, full time either defending or attacking others. And all of these people who are non-farmers and non-herders are settled down and living in advanced cities. So this is the big deal with the Neolithic Revolution, or the move from Stone Age to a more modern period. You have non-farm jobs. This leads us to the 5 elements of civilization. One of them is where people are living, advanced cities. Advanced cities are not just places that have a lot of people in them. They are a place where goods are traded. That's what makes it an advanced city. So one is an advanced city, population centers where goods are traded. Another thing that we just talked about, which is the specialization, which is, once again, non-farmers, non-herders, craftspeople and artisans who are making pottery, they're making metal objects, woven cloth, jewelry, tools, etc. And once again, those things are being sold in the advanced cities, oftentimes by a merchant or a trader, another non-farmer. Another one of the five elements of civilization is complex institutions. Those people who are not farming and not herding and who are also not craftspeople or artisans are involved in these complex institutions like government. Having a government is a complex institution where you have leaders and people who are organizing society. Religion is another one of these complex institutions. People are dealing with the spiritual. They're trying to please the gods that they believe exist. So there are special people who are doing that. The economy itself is a complex institution. The buying and the selling of goods and especially agricultural goods, but all kinds of goods. And having an economy and having rules about buying and selling is a complex institution. The fourth element of civilization goes along with some of those complex institutions. It's record keeping. There has to be some system of keeping records. We'll talk about that when we talk about these early civilizations. Tax records, the government taking money from people, taking wealth from people in order to pay for the government. Laws have to be recorded so that everybody knows what the laws are of a given place and everyone is abiding by them. And if they aren't, then being punished by the government. The calendar is really quite important, and the calendar really is mostly religious at first, but it could also be, talking about when ritual days occur and the local priests would tell people when those ritual days are, but it could also be about planting, it could be about harvesting, it could also be about river flooding, as we'll see, because the early civilizations are all created on river systems. And river systems reminds us of improved technology, because improved technology is the fifth element of civilization. It is all kinds of things, and it keeps going from very early times even to today. But way back then, we're really talking about things like harnessing animal power, learning to ride a horse, learning to attach a plow to an ox and have that ox pull a plow to churn up the soil and make farming easier. As I said, irrigation systems are an improved technology as well. Tapping into rivers to allow those rivers to flow into your fields. This could be something which is an improved technology, which is going to help people create more agricultural produce. Potter's wheels, carpenter's tools so that people can saw, they can cut wood, they can hammer nails or attach wood to other pieces of wood and so on. All of these things are examples of improved technology. Now, when I try to learn something like 5 elements of civilizations, I usually try to create a mnemonic device so that I can remember them. And my mnemonic device for the 5 elements of civilization is kind of weird, but what I generally do is take the first letter of the things of the list that I want to learn, and then create a silly little sentence out of it. And then as I repeat that sentence, I try to link that sentence to what it is that I'm supposed to learn. So I'm looking for a word that starts with an A, and then S, and then C, and then R, and then I. So what I came up with over a period of years, and this is weird, I think sometimes the weirder the picture in your mind, the easier it is to remember what your mnemonic device is. But what I came up with was all silly clowns ride ibexes. And an ibex is a kind of African antelope. So I imagine a bunch of silly clowns riding on ibexes or riding on these African antelopes. Weird picture. It helps me remember ASCRI, and then the trick is to remember what the A is for, and usually it works out over time. I think, okay, all advanced cities, silly specialization, all silly clowns. Sometimes I can't remember what the C is for, and I'll have to go and look, and then I remember, oh yeah, complex institutions, and the R, oh yeah, record keeping, and I is for improved technology. Anyway, I'd like you to create a mnemonic device. You could use mine if you want to, if you know what an ibex is, and you can picture silly clowns riding on them. But you could also create your own. See if that works for you to remember those 5 elements of civilization. All silly clowns ride ibexes. So to end today's lecture, we're going to be talking about four river valley civilizations. These are four places that contain those five elements of civilization. First one that we'll talk about is in Mesopotamia, the land between the two rivers. This is more or less modern day Iraq, between the Tigris and the Euphrates River down here. We'll also talk about the Nile River Valley in modern day Egypt down here. We'll also talk about the Indus River Valley here in modern day India. And then we'll also talk about early Chinese civilization with the Yellow and Yangtze river valleys. So that'll be Unit 1. We'll also talk a little bit about some of the belief systems, spiritual systems, or religious systems that came out of some of those places as well. So hopefully I covered all of the essential answers that you needed for the essential questions. You'll be doing a lecture quiz or a lecture check, really, to see if you, using your EQs, to see if you got the information that I wanted you to get. If there's something that you're unclear about, please contact me and I will clear up any kind of misunderstandings that you have or anything that you didn't get. Thanks so much and have a great day.